This little girl was passionate about art, and from a young age, she showed a talent for singing and dancing. She confidently displayed her abilities on stage, receiving thunderous applause from the audience below. Her dream was to become a famous singer when she grew up, and throughout her childhood, she diligently practiced to achieve her dream. But she was constantly being thrown with cold water by her own mother, who thought that her daughter, with her face, could only be a singer in her own dreams. The girl now also always wondered why her mother had such a beautiful face, while hers was so ugly. When she reached middle school, she still confidently took the stage to showcase her dance skills for the school audience. But unlike when she was younger, she didn't receive applause. Instead, she was met with mocking laughter and insults about her ugly appearance. And when she reached high school, the girl no longer dared to stand on stage. Instead, she quietly sat in the audience to watch the prettier girls sing and dance on stage. Her dream of becoming famous gradually faded and was extinguished. Like many ordinary people, the girl graduated from college and became an office worker. At 27, the girl's name is Mo Mi. Although she had to choose a normal life like everyone else, Mo Mi still loved and missed the applause, the roaring applause that people used to give her. So every night, Mo Mi would put on beautiful eye makeup, wear a mask, put on a wig and dress up sexy. Then she would perform her incredibly skilled and captivating dance moves on a live streaming app. With her captivating dance skills, Mo Mi quickly became famous. Her live streams attracted a large number of interactive viewers. Mo Mi also sat down to chat and did all sorts of things to get viewers to give her hearts, because each heart she received could be converted into money. Mo Mi's stage name was The Masked Girl, and that was her nighttime story. And during the day, Mo Mi continued her busy life as an ordinary office worker. Because she wasn't blessed with good looks, Mo Mi constantly received cold stares from her male colleagues at the company. And there was only one man that Mo Mi thought was still polite to her, Manager Park. While other men in the company were always hitting on the beautiful secretary, Ariam, Manager Park was always very proper and appropriate with the beautiful secretary. For Mo Mi, almost everything about Manager Park was perfect. His ideal height, his gentlemanly demeanor, his masculinity, his broad shoulders, his intelligent and charming face. Mo Mi gave him a perfect score for everything. But there was one flaw he couldn't change. He was already married. Mo Mi almost couldn't take her eyes off of Manager Park every day. Whenever she saw him focused on his work, she didn't know that behind that dedicated expression, Manager Park was actually working on his six-pack abs to make them more attractive when he posted them on social media. That night, when the entire office went out for drinks, Manager Park got into a taxi to go home to his wife. Mo Mi asked Manager Park to give her a ride part of the way because her house was on the same road he was going home on. While they were in the taxi, Manager Park received a phone call from his wife. When his wife asked if he was in the car with anyone, Manager Park immediately said, "I'm on my way home alone. The whole team is out drinking." Mo Mi heard the content of Manager Park's phone call and was very confused. Why was he hiding from his wife that he was with me? Does he have feelings for me? Just a simple story like that, and Mo Mi took the entire story and shared it on her live stream with her viewers. Then she asked them, "Do you think my boss has feelings for me?" When someone said, "I bet he's into you." The masked girl Mo Mi was very excited to hear that. Then someone commented, "If you're dating him, I'm gonna kill myself." The next evening, when everyone had left, only Mo Mi and the beautiful secretary, Ariam, stayed in the office to work. Mo Mi then said goodbye to her secretary colleague and left first. But as she was walking down the gate, she realized she had forgotten her access card. So Mo Mi went back to the office to get it. Then she saw Manager Park also getting on the elevator to go back to the office. Mo Mi got on the elevator to go back to the office to get her access card. Then she discovered that Manager Park and Secretary Ariam were secretly making out in the conference room. It turned out that the cold look Manager Park usually gave to the beautiful secretary was just an act to fool the world, to cover up their secret affair. Mo Mi was completely shocked when she learned the truth. She went home, took out some alcohol to drink, and then burst into tears. Then she ran to the bathroom to vomit. Then it was time for her live stream. Mo Mi put on her mask and danced like she always did. But because she was drunk, she had a moment of inspiration and took off the dress she was wearing. As a result, her account was blocked for violating the live streaming rules. The next morning, Mo Mi woke up and saw that her account had been blocked. She slapped herself repeatedly. Mo Mi went to work. When she was sitting and having lunch with the group of women at the company, Mo Mi told them everything she had seen at the company the night before. She also told the group of women, "Don't tell anyone about this story." And then quickly, the story of Manager Park's affair with the beautiful secretary, Ariam, spread throughout the company. The story was even added with new details, like, Manager Park got Ariam pregnant and she's about to give birth. Mo Mi also learned that the story she had shared had caught the attention of everyone at the company. Then she saw that Manager Park and Secretary Ariam were both absent from the company. Mo Mi now felt guilty about Manager Park. When she was about to get on the elevator to go home, Mo Mi bumped into Deputy Manager O. He was about to say something to Mo Mai, but when the elevator door opened, he decided not to say what he wanted to say. When Mo Mai was on her way home, she saw Manager Park, completely drunk, walking down the street. Mo Mi ran over to talk to him. When she saw that he was completely drunk and couldn't control his actions, Mo Mi immediately called a taxi and carried Manager Park into the car. Then she got into the taxi with Manager Park. When they arrived at the area where Manager Park lived, Mo Mi asked, "What street do you live on?" Right then, it started to rain, so Mo Mi helped Manager Park into a motel for shelter. When they got to the motel, Mo Mi helped Manager Park to the bed and then took off his shoes and put them on a shelf. When she saw her dream lover drunk, she sat down and took off his boss's bag. Then she mumbled, "Your clothes are wet." Next, she took off his suit jacket. Suddenly, Manager Park hugged Mo Mi. Mo Mai smiled when she was in Manager Park's arms. Then the two of them did what men and women often do when they're in a motel. The next morning, Manager Park woke up and saw Mo Mai's face right in front of him. He was startled, jumped up, and then gently put on his clothes. Then he quietly went outside, leaving Mo Mai alone. Mo Mai got dressed and then went to work. But Manager Park wasn't there. Her CO worker informed her. Manager Park quit. Secretary Ariam also transferred to another department. Mo Mai then received an anonymous email that said, "I know you're the masked girl." Mo Mai was shocked and then ran to the bathroom to try and remember who among her viewers might have sent her this anonymous email. While she was on the subway going home, Mo Mi texted Manager Park to ask him to meet up. Then, when she was walking home, Mo Mi received a reply from Manager Park. He said, "I'm sorry. I don't remember anything about what happened last night." Mo Mai read the message and was very disappointed. Mo Mai logged into her blocked account on the live streaming app and saw that one of her loyal viewers, whose nickname was Prince of Past Lives, was online. So Mo Mi clicked to chat with him, and the person with the nickname Prince of Past Lives was none other than Deputy Manager O, Mo Mai's male colleague. This guy was incredibly eccentric and always liked to be alone. From a young age, O Nam had always been bullied by his friends and made fun of. As he grew older, O Nam became more afraid of looking someone in the eye, so he would always keep his head down when he walked. And as he grew up, O Nam chose to self-soothe whenever he felt uncomfortable because he loved being alone. So when he got a job, O Nam moved out to live on his own. He hosted a birthday party for himself, and the guest at his birthday party was the life-sized doll girlfriend he had bought beforehand. Although he had moved out, O Nam constantly received calls from his mother, and whenever she called her son, O Nam's mother would nag him about everything, then tell him stories about how virtuous other people's children were. She would also try to urge O Nam to quickly find a girlfriend, just like other people's children. At the company, O Nam was still rather isolated from everyone. He always chose to eat alone, and when he saw Mo Mi, he didn't dare look her in the eye because of his social anxiety. But when he looked at Mo Mai's hands, he was impressed by the 2 moles on each of her hands, in the same position as well as Mo Mai's green nail polish. O Nam was also a loyal fan of the Masked Girl. One day, while watching the Masked Girl's live stream, O Nam saw the 2 moles on her hands and her green nail polish. O Nam immediately realized that the Masked Girl was actually his coworker, Mo Mi. As days passed, O Nam became even more of a fan of the Masked Girl. He tried his best to protect Mo Mi whenever she was criticized by a viewer. There was no live stream of The Masked Girl that O Nam missed. And during a drinking session with colleagues at a bar, O Nam was very sad when he saw Mo Mi asking for a ride in the taxi with Manager Park to go home. When he got home, when he saw The Masked Girl enthusiastically telling the story of her taxi ride with her boss, O Nam was moved to tears. Then he wrote a comment, "If you're dating him, I'm gonna kill myself." While at work, O Nam was very jealous when he saw Mo Mai's affectionate gaze towards Manager Park. O Nam went online to find out how to successfully confess his love, then went to the rooftop to practice saying his love to Mo Mi. And on the evening before, when there were only 3 people left in the office, O Nam quietly walked ahead, leaving Mo Mai and Secretary Ariam in the office. O Nam planned to go downstairs and wait for Mo Mai and confess his love to her. But when Mo Mai came out, O Nam didn't see her. After everyone at the company had gone home, O Nam saw Manager Park enter the company. Then Mo Mai also entered. O Nam became jealous and followed them. But when O Nam went to the office, Mo Mi was already leaving. O Nam entered the conference room and saw Manager Park and Secretary Ariam doing it. O Nam smiled, happily walking back home. He was so happy to know that Manager Park was a jerk and didn't care about his Mo Mi. O Nam went to watch her live stream and saw The Masked Girl, drunk and heartbroken. Then he saw the girl completely naked during her live stream. The next morning, O Nam used all his courage to go and talk to Mo Mi. He said, "Forget that married jerk. I've been watching your live streams for a long time. Mo Mi, I love you." Mo Mai stood up, touched O Nam's face and said, Actually, I love you too, Deputy Manager Oh Nam. Mo Mai hugged and kissed Oh Nam, then knelt down and did something to Oh Nam in front of all the employees at the company. But it was just a perverted dream of his. When it was time to go home, when he saw Mo Mi at the elevator, Oh Nam intended to confess his love to Mo Mi. But when the elevator door opened, he was embarrassed, so he didn't dare to speak. And when he was going home, Oh Nam also saw Mo Mi escorting Manager Park, who was drunk, to a taxi. Oh Nam got into a taxi to follow the two of them. When he saw Mo Mi escorting Manager Park to the motel, Oh Nam was very angry and wrote an anonymous email to Mo Mi. Mo Mai was very frightened when she received this email. When he got home, Oh Nam was feeling gloomy and received a chat request from the masked girl. He immediately sat at the table and chatted with the masked girl, who was actually Mo Mai. When he saw the masked girl express her sadness and weariness of life, Oh Nam also tried to comfort her and ease her heartbreak. Mo Mai was now wearing sunglasses and a mask. Suddenly, a young man asked her, "Are you the masked girl?" "I'm Handsome Monk. I'm a fan of yours." The two of them went to eat barbecue. While the guy was very curious about Mo Mai's real appearance, she kept avoiding the guy with the nickname, Handsome Monk. The guy then asked Mo Mi to take off her mask so they could eat barbecue together. Mo Mai said she wasn't hungry, but the guy kept begging, so Mo Mi couldn't refuse. The Handsome Monk, after seeing the masked girl's true appearance, tried to act normal. He even praised Mo Mi for being very charming. The guy then invited Mo Mai to a bar. He boasted that he had lived in America for many years. He said to Mo Mi, "If you went to America, you would definitely be very famous. American men love high cheekbones and monolids." Mo Mi was happy to hear this. When Mo Mai went to the bathroom, the Handsome Monk went online to post something. When Mo Mai came out, the guy immediately invited her to his place for drinks. Oh Nam went on social media and saw Handsome Monk posting that he was with the masked girl at a street food. "She's so ugly. I'm trying to get her drunk. Then I'll take a picture of her and show it to everyone." Oh Nam was very angry when he read the post. He wanted to call Mo Mi, but she was happily chatting with Handsome Monk and didn't answer. Oh Nam immediately got into a taxi to go to the street food to find Mo Mi. Handsome Monk was now walking and chatting happily with Mo Mai. Suddenly, he invited Mo Mi, "Let's go to the motel and watch a movie while having a beer with me." After a few seconds of embarrassment, Mo Mi went inside with Handsome Monk. He asked Mo Mi to go to the room first. He would go and buy some beer. He mumbled as he left, "This is costing me a fortune." Then he passed Oh Nam, who was running frantically, looking for Mo Mi. Mo Mi went up to the hotel room and saw that Deputy Manager Oh Nam had called her 8 times. Just then, Handsome Monk returned with the beer. He tried every way to seduce Mo Mai. He even sat down and rubbed on the bed to excite her. He tried to kiss Mo Mi, but she refused. Handsome Monk pressed Mo Mai onto the bed, but she sat up abruptly. Seeing this, Handsome Monk said, "You should have said so beforehand. What a waste of money." Mo Mi took out her money and put it on the table, then turned and walked away. Handsome Monk said, "You're ugly and you're so picky. You stripped naked on a live stream and now you're acting all snooty? Do you think you're so beautiful? You're as ugly as a pig." Mo Mai walked over and slapped Handsome Monk in the face. He was angry and pulled Mo Mai down from the bed and pressed her down. Mo Mai kicked him in his private parts and ran away, but the guy pulled her down. Then the two of them started wrestling on the bed. Then, Handsome Monk ran over to attack Mo Mai. The bed overturned, and someone hit his head on the sink. Mo Mai crawled out from under the cloth and saw Handsome Monk lying unconscious in a pool of blood on his head. Mo Mai was very scared. She tried to call emergency services, but when she saw Oh Nam's message, she called Oh Nam. Oh Nam went up to the hotel room. He saw Handsome Monk lying unconscious and asked Mo Mi, "Is he dead?" Mo Mai said, "I don't know. That jerk jumped on top of me and tried to force himself on me, so I resisted." When Oh Nam saw that Mo Mai was scared and bursting into tears, he snatched the phone from Mo Mai's hand and said, "Don't call the police. You'll go to jail." Mo Mai said, "I only killed him in self-defense." Oh Nam said, "You went to the motel with this jerk. Even if it's manslaughter, you'll still have to spend a few years in jail." Mo Mai burst into tears and said, "What do I do?" Oh Nam thought about it for a while and told Mo Mai to go home. He'd take care of things here. When Mo Mai said, "How can I leave?" Oh Nam quickly interrupted her and shouted, "Please, just go." So Mo Mai went out of the room. Oh Nam now put on gloves and a raincoat, then took a knife into the bathroom. Then he slashed Handsome Monk's shirt. When he saw that the guy was still alive, Oh Nam kept hitting him with the knife. Now, the foolish Oh Nam had become a beast, all because of a blind love for the masked girl. Oh Nam then went to work, exhausted, but Mo Mai wasn't there. He learned that Mo Mai had quit her job. Her colleague couldn't get through to Mo Mai on the phone either. Oh Nam went to HR to ask for Mo Mai's home address. Then he went to her house to bring her the things that she had left at the company. But he rang the doorbell repeatedly, and nobody came out. That night, Oh Nam saw the masked girl doing a live stream, and she announced that this was her last live stream. Oh Nam immediately ran to her house to find Mo Mi. After a while of knocking on the door like he wanted to break it down, the masked girl, Mo Mi, came out and opened the door. Oh Nam went into the house and asked, "Why did you quit your job?" Mo Mai answered, "I can't go back to work after what happened." Oh Nam said, "You have to forget about what happened that day. Just pretend that Jerk was a cockroach." Mo Mi, after hearing that, said, "Are you Prince of Past Lives? I've thought things through. I'm sure you're Prince of Past Lives and the one who sent me that anonymous email." Oh Nam explained, "I didn't mean to. When I saw you go into the motel with Manager Park, I was so angry. It was the first time I'd ever had such strong feelings for someone." Mo Mai burst out laughing and said, "You're right. I'll forget everything. I'll pretend that Jerk was just a dead cockroach. I'm going to start a new life, and the old Mo Mai is dead." Oh Nam said, "So you'll forget about me too." Mo Mai walked over and said, "So what do you want me to do for you now?" Oh Nam pressed Mo Mi onto the bed. Then he laughed, pulled down his pants, and began to have his way with Mo Mi. Oh Nam took off her mask and saw that Mo Mai's face was bandaged because she had just had plastic surgery. Mo Mi immediately tackled him and landed on top of Oh Nam. Then she said, "You bastard!" Then Mo Mai grabbed a screwdriver and stabbed the foolish Oh Nam repeatedly. It seems that ending a person's life is so simple. But Mo Mi didn't think that Oh Nam had a father, a mother, and how hard his mother had worked to raise him into the person he was now. Oh Nam's mother was a young woman who was born into a poor family and met Oh Nam's father through an arranged marriage. Because she saw that he was educated, she decided to marry him. But shortly after their wedding, he ran off with another woman, leaving her to raise Oh Nam alone. Her name was Kyung Ja. To make money to support her son, Kyung Ja worked at all kinds of labor jobs. Eventually, she was able to open a tiny diner. To maintain her diner, Kyung Ja wasn't afraid to fight anyone to survive. When Oh Nam was a child, he went to school and was constantly beaten up by his friends. They even glued chewing gum to his hair. And every time he was like that, his mother would take him to see a priest and beg God to bless her son. And every time Oh Nam got good grades at school, Kyung Ja would always think that God had blessed Oh Nam. From a young age, Oh Nam had developed a habit of reading trashy comics. When he grew up, even though he didn't get into medical school, his mother was still very happy when Oh Nam passed the entrance exam for a university in Seoul. And when he started working, Oh Nam no longer wanted to live with his mother. Kyung Ja was very angry that her son wanted to move out, but she eventually had to accept Oh Nam's request because his job was too far from home. So, Kyung Ja was alone every day in the house in the suburbs. When she went all the way to Seoul to visit her son, Oh Nam would act indifferent and tell his mother, "You don't need to bring me food anymore." And Kyung Ja never got to set foot in her son's mysterious house. A while later, Kyung Ja could no longer contact Oh Nam. She reported him to the police and went with them to break down Oh Nam's door. When they went inside, they could smell a foul odor. Then his mother jumped in fright when she saw a life-size doll inside the house. Then the police found a decomposed corpse. Kyung Ja thought it was her son's body and fainted. Then 2 police officers came to the hospital and informed Kyung Ja, "That corpse isn't Oh Nam's." When she heard this, she thanked God because she thought her son was still alive. The police asked, "Do you know if your son had any conflicts with anyone?" Kyung Ja said, "My son gets along with everyone. Are you suspecting him of murder? My son stays at home. He's a good boy. He wouldn't even kill a fly. He gets scared and shakes like a jelly when he sees blood." Kyung Ja then chased the police away. The police then went to Mo Mai's house to search because she had also disappeared at the same time as Oh Nam. The landlady said, "I think she had just had plastic surgery because I saw her with a lot of white bandages around her head." The landlady also told the police she never brought a man home. She just occasionally plays loud music and dances. The police also went to Mo Mai's mother's house to investigate, but she didn't open the door. Then, the news that Oh Nam's house contained many men's toys was broadcast on the news across the country. The police also commented that Oh Nam had an unusual perception of sex and had rather perverted desires. Kyung Ja was very angry when she saw this news. She called the police and scolded them. "I asked you to find my son, but you turned him into a pervert and a murderer? If my son, Oh Nam, killed someone, then I'll kill your children." Kyung Ja now decided to find her son herself. She hired someone to unlock Oh Nam's computer, but because she didn't know how to use it, Kyung Ja didn't know what to do with the computer. So Kyung Ja decided to sign up for a basic computer course. She practiced typing and learned how to use email. After diligently studying, she learned how to search for information about the masked girl. Then she found Mo Mai's real picture. But when she read the comments below, she didn't understand anything. So Kyung-ja decided to learn the slang that teenagers were using. To have time to find her son, Kyung-ja decided to close her diner. Then she went to the bank to withdraw all the savings she had saved her entire life. The clerk, holding the thick savings book, asked, "You want to withdraw all of this money?" Kyung-ja said, "Does the bank not have enough money?" After she learned how to use the computer, she accessed all the forums to ask about the whereabouts of the masked girl. Kyung-ja tried to use teen slang as much as possible. In the end, she found her whereabouts. Someone with the nickname Teddy sent Kyung-ja a video of a girl dancing in front of a supermarket and said, "This might be the masked girl after she had plastic surgery." Kyung-ja didn't believe the words of this Teddy guy because she thought he sounded a little perverted. Kyung-ja was then called by the police to identify a corpse that might be Oh-nam's. After learning that her son was dead, she burst into tears and wailed. Kyung-ja told herself, "I have to find that masked girl. She killed my son." The police confirmed that they found Oh-nam's dismembered body on a mountain and were tracking down Mo-mi because they suspected she was the culprit. Kyung-ja went to church and made a speech in front of all the churchgoers, with a face full of hatred, to express her determination before God. Kyung-ja then drove to Mo-mi's house to find her. She kept ringing the doorbell and said, "I'm the mother of the victim who was murdered by that bitch, Mo-mi." After waiting a long time and no one opened the door, Kyung-ja repeatedly kicked the door. The housekeeper then came out and said, "If you don't leave, the owner will call the police. She's cut off all contact with her daughter for years." When she saw Mo-mi's mother standing upstairs, Kyung-ja loudly said, "You bitch! Come down here right now." Mo-mi's mother hugged her dog and went back inside the house. Kyung-ja continued to yell and was sent to the police station by the police officers. Kyung-ja then prayed with her friends. When she saw Kyung-ja burst into tears, remembering her son Oh-nam, a friend told Kyung-ja, "There's a fortune teller who's very good. Everything she says is true." Kyung-ja didn't believe it, but then she went to this fortune teller and asked her to find out the whereabouts of Mo-mi. After Kyung-ja gave her a wad of cash, the fortune teller went into a trance and said, "Go to Gangcheon supermarket and look for her." Kyung-ja then went to the supermarket and printed out the picture that Teddy had sent her. Then a supermarket employee recognized the girl and said, "She comes here to dance sometimes when there's an event, but it's been a long time. She hasn't been here for a while." Kyung-ja said, "This is my daughter. She ran away when she was in high school." The supermarket employee pointed to the event company that was managing the girl. Kyung-ja immediately went to the company to look for her. After showing them the picture, she learned that the girl's name was Jumi, but the boss said she quit. She said she was going to find a job that paid more. She probably went to work at a nightclub. Kyung-ja then went to all the nightclubs to look for the girl named Jumi. When her stomach was growling, Kyung-ja stopped to buy some blood sausage to eat. Suddenly, another girl came over to buy blood sausage. Kyung-ja recognized that this was the girl, Jumi, she was looking for. Kyung-ja followed her and learned that she was working at a high-end nightclub. Kyung-ja went inside. When the manager stopped her, Kyung-ja said, "My daughter just came in. She's wearing a red dress and high boots." The manager said, "Her name is Mi." Kyung-ja told the manager, "Don't tell my daughter that I came here." Then the manager asked her to leave. She went outside and waited in her car. When she saw the girl she suspected get into a taxi, Kyung-ja also drove to follow her. Then she followed the girl to her residence. She looked through the crack in the door and saw a young man sitting inside. The next morning, when the girl walked out of her house, Kyung-ja followed her to a hair salon. When she saw the girl sitting in the salon getting her hair done, Kyung-ja sat down in a chair and a hairdresser came over to wash her hair. Kyung-ja saw a crescent moon necklace on the girl's neck. She felt like she had seen that necklace before. After getting her hair styled, Kyung-ja searched for pictures of the masked girl on her computer. She saw that her enemy was wearing the same crescent moon necklace. To make it easier to deal with the girl, Kyung-ja applied for a job as a taxi driver. Then she drove the taxi to meet an illegal gun dealer to buy a gun. The mother didn't hesitate to pay a large sum of money to buy the best and strongest gun. That evening, Kyung-ja sat in the taxi, waiting outside the nightclub. She refused all strange customers who wanted to get into her car. Then the girl she suspected got into the taxi. Kyung-ja drove away. Then she constantly asked questions to strike up a conversation with the girl in the back seat. When she stopped at a traffic light, Kyung-ja pretended to ask the girl to pick up her dropped phone. Then she used an electric taser on her neck, causing the girl to faint. Then Kyung-ja drove the car to an abandoned church. When the girl woke up, she found that she was tied up and her mouth was covered. Kyung-ja took her gun and went to the girl. She took off the gag. The girl screamed loudly for help. Kyung-ja yelled along to prove that no one could hear her screams in this place. When the girl asked, "Who are you?" Kyung-ja grabbed her hair and slapped her repeatedly. The girl immediately begged Kyung-ja, "Please let me go." Kyung-ja took out a picture of her son, Oh-nam. The girl asked, "Who is he?" Then her mother was about to raise her hand to hit the girl. But the girl said, "This is the first time I've seen him." Kyung-ja asked her real name. "Is it Mo-mai?" The girl said, "My name is Chun-A." Kyung-ja didn't believe her words, so she put the mask on the girl and kept comparing it with the photo of the masked girl. Then she concluded, "It's you, no one else." Kyung-ja raised her gun and asked, "You killed my son, didn't you?" The girl said, "I swear I've never met your son." The mother pointed to the necklace on the girl's neck and asserted, "You are the masked girl." The girl then looked at the picture and laughed out loud. She said, "I think I know who that bitch is." The girl, Chun-A, began to tell Kyung-ja the story of her life. Chun-A explained that since high school, she had been a shy and timid girl in her class. There was a handsome guy named Boo-young, who was being trained to be an idol in a boy band. Chun-A was immediately captivated by his good looks. When Chun-A worked part-time at a convenience store, she saw Boo-young and his friends come to buy things at the convenience store. They were buying alcohol and cigarettes. Chun-A said, "Minors can't buy these things." Boo-young smiled and begged her. Chun-A was charmed by his good looks, so she agreed to let Boo-young buy them. One day when Chun-A just stepped out of the convenience store, a subordinate came to pick her up in a car and said, "It's Boo-young's birthday today." Chun-A was taken to a karaoke bar. Then she went into the karaoke room to attend Boo-young's birthday party. He invited Chun-A, "Let's have a drink together." She couldn't refuse, so she picked up her glass of alcohol and drank it. Chun-A stepped out of the bathroom and ran into Boo-young. He grabbed her hand and asked, "Can you lend me some money? The bill was bigger than I thought. Lend me 200,000 won. I'll pay you back next week." When Chun-A agreed, Boo-young hugged her. Time passed and Chun-A became an ATM for Boo-young. He would come and withdraw money whenever he was short. He would only take and never pay back. A few years later, Boo-young debuted successfully in a boy band. Chun-A texted to congratulate him, but for a whole month, Boo-young didn't answer. One winter morning, Chun-A blended into the crowd of fans who were waiting for the idol group to arrive. Boo-young saw Chun-A calling out to him, but he didn't care. Chun-A took a gift to the location where the idol group was staying to look for Boo-young. When she heard someone coming out, she hid. Boo-young and another singer from the idol group came outside. The singer asked Boo-young, "Do you know that girl who was calling out to you?" Boo-young said, "We went to the same high school. She's one of my banks. Whenever I need money, I withdraw from her. In my prime, I had up to 10 banks like that." Chun-A heard the content of the conversation and could only cry. At this moment, Chun-A was filled with hatred. So she posted photos of the idol singer Boo-young's debauched partying online. Posts exposing Boo-young received massive views online. They forced him to hold a press conference to apologize, and Boo-young was kicked out of the idol group soon after. Many years later, Chun-A had plastic surgery to become more beautiful. When she was dancing at an event in front of a supermarket, Chun-A saw Boo-young in a shabby state walking past. She immediately followed him. She said, "I'm Chun-A." Boo-young was very surprised to see Chun-A's new look. Then, Boo-young moved in with Chun-A. He would eat, sleep, and play games at home every day. He didn't dare to go to work because of the label of former idol group member. Chun-A felt guilty, so she took good care of Boo-young and supported him. Chun-A had to start working at a nightclub to make more money. She sang and danced every night to entertain the male customers. Soon, Chun-A became the most popular hostess at the nightclub. Hearing this, Kyung-ja interrupted her and said, "I told you to tell me about that bitch, Mo-mai. Why are you telling me this pointless story?" Chun-A said, "Now I'm starting to tell you about her." Chun-A said that about 2 months ago, that girl started working at the nightclub. But when the club owner asked her to show her ID, she said she had lost it. That girl then used the stage name Ariam to work, with her mesmerizing beauty, singing, and dancing skills. Ariam was very popular with the nightclub's customers. Ariam was also favored by the club owner, and Chun-A's regular customers gradually all chose Ariam to serve them. Chun-A then met Ariam privately and asked, "Why did you steal all my regular customers?" Ariam said, "If you want to know, ask that boss." Chun-A slapped Ariam. Ariam then slapped Chun-A back. The two began pulling each other's hair and constantly grappling. When the club owner appeared, they stopped. The owner then said to Chun-A, "You're not doing a good job. Why are you blaming Ariam? Losers always like to blame others." Ariam pretended to take all the blame. Chun-A found the girl's fake act even more annoying. Chun-A then saw Ariam's necklace under her shoe and picked it up. That night, she quit her job. It was also the last time she saw Ariam. Kyung-ja, after hearing the story, grabbed her hair and said, "Do you think I believe this nonsense?" Chun-A said, "I'm not the person you're looking for. That girl's breast is real. Mine is all silicone." Kyung-ja heard this and said, "If you're lying to me, I'll eat you alive." Chun-A said, "I also want to find that girl and punch her like you did." Chun-A went to the nightclub where she used to work to ask where Mo-mai was. Chun-A got out of the car and said to Kyung-ja, she quit working here. Chun-A then promised Kyung-ja, I'll go to nightclubs with higher salaries to find Mo-mi for you, but I need money to do this. Chun-A got out of the car and said to Kyung-ja, I'll report back to you tonight. Then Kyung-ja drove away in the taxi. Chun-A immediately went into a rental apartment. She went upstairs and knocked on a door. Mo-mai was the one who opened the door. It turned out that the story Chun-A had just told Kyung-ja was made up, and the meeting between Chun-A and Mo-mi took a different turn. When Mo-mai first came to work at the nightclub and met Chun-A, they looked at each other and smiled and greeted each other. Then they became a great pair of performers. Both Chun-A and Mo-mi had been ugly girls and had similar pasts. So they empathized with each other and became close, like twins. And it was Mo-mi who gave Chun-A her crescent moon necklace. One day, Chun-A went to Mo-mai's house and saw that she was burning up with a high fever. Chun-A told Mo-mai to go to the hospital, but Mo-mai said, I can't go to the hospital because I killed someone. Mo-mi then told Chun-A the whole story of what she had gone through. Chun-A burst into tears and hugged Mo-mai. Earlier, when she went to the nightclub to scout, Chun-A had told her friend, if the old woman in the car comes looking for you, just tell her Ariam has gone to work at a different nightclub, okay? Now, when she was inside the house talking to Mo-mi, Chun-A told Mo-mai to run away, because that old woman will kill you. Why don't you go back to your mother's house? Mo-mai replied, if she sees me go home, she might just call the police. Mo-mi apologized for dragging Chun-A into this, but she said, we'll definitely find another way. Chun-A stepped out and was followed by a young man who took photos of her continuously. When she got home, she found her boyfriend Bu-young sitting and playing games. Chun-A was very angry. Her boyfriend was lazy and just sat playing games all day. He didn't even feed their pet dog. She immediately kicked him out. He stood up, approached her and asked, did you post those pictures to ruin my life? I used your computer, and I saw the account you used to post those photos. Chun-A said it wasn't me. The boyfriend immediately punched her in the stomach. The boyfriend then took a rope and said, I won't leave here until I get proper compensation. You bitch. Then he used the rope to torture Chun-A. Mo-mai was now crawling outside to buy rice cakes to eat. Suddenly, the guy who had been following Chun-A that morning came up to her and said, I'm Teddy, the president of your masked girl fan club. I'm obsessed with your live stream. I can't believe you're so beautiful now. Then Mo-mai felt nauseous and ran to vomit. Mo-mai told Teddy, get lost before I kill you. Mo-mai went home and immediately packed her belongings. At that moment, Chun-A came to the house. Seeing Mo-mi trying to escape, Chun-A said, I'll go with you. Mo-mi took Chun-A home so she could sneak in and get her things. Chun-A opened the door and quietly entered the house, packing her things to run away from her abusive boyfriend. Chun-A was carrying her pet dog towards the door when her boyfriend woke up and asked, where are you going? Chun-A replied, I'm taking the dog for a walk. The boyfriend said, you're taking a walk with a purse? He walked over, grabbed her hair, and threw Chun-A inside. Then he grabbed the rope to torture Chun-A. When the dog bit his leg, he kicked the dog far away. Chun-A was angry and lunged at him, but then she was punched repeatedly in the face by her boyfriend. Just then, Mo-mai appeared and used a hard object to hit the boyfriend repeatedly. He retaliated and threw Mo-mi to the ground. Mo-mi took a bedside lamp and hit him on the head. Then she used the rope to strangle the abusive boyfriend. At that moment, Chun-A woke up and grabbed the rope. Then the two girls each held one end of the rope and pulled until the boyfriend stopped breathing. Then they stopped. As for Kyung-ja, she was constantly calling Chun-A, but she couldn't get through. Then Kyung-ja went online and received a message from Teddy. He sent her pictures of Chun-A and said, this girl went to meet the masked girl, Mo-mai. Kyung-ja was furious when she saw the photos because she knew she had been tricked by that devil, Chun-A. Meanwhile, Mo-mai and Chun-A put the boyfriend's body in a suitcase and prepared to leave. At that moment, Kyung-ja appeared and followed them. Chun-A and Mo-mai were in the car, but they didn't know where to go. Mo-mi told Chun-A, I think I'm pregnant. When Chun-A asked, what are you going to do with it? Mo-mai said, I'll keep it. I'm sure there's a way to raise it. I wonder if the baby will be as ugly as me. Even if it's ugly, I'll tell my kid that they're beautiful. My mom never praised me once. No matter how ugly my child is, I will definitely tell them that they're very beautiful. Chun-A took Mo-mai's hand to encourage her. Behind them, Kyung-ja chased after them, singing a hymn with a face full of hatred. Mo-mi and Chun-A drove to a riverbank. They started carrying the suitcase when they saw a car approaching. Kyung-ja got out of the car. Then, she held the gun, pointed at the two girls and said, you killed my son, didn't you? Chun-A said, I'm the one who killed your perverted son. Then the two girls started fighting and claiming they were Mo-mi. Kyung-ja said, then I'll kill you both. She pulled the trigger. No bullets were fired. The two girls ran towards her, and the gun exploded. The bullet hit Chun-A. Kyung-ja immediately attacked Mo-mi and crawled over to pick up the gun. But Mo-mi stopped her, then strangled her. Then Kyung-ja managed to get hold of the gun. When she was about to pull the trigger, Mo-mi attacked her and deflected the bullet. Kyung-ja pushed Mo-mi to the ground and said, "I'm going to tear you apart like you did to my son." Suddenly, Chun-A, holding a rock, struck Kyung-ja hard on the head. After that, Chun-A collapsed. Then she coughed up blood on Mo-mi's shoulder. Mo-mi wailed in agony. Then Chun-A breathed her last. Finally, at dawn the next day, Mo-mi pushed the car, with the old woman inside, into the water. Then she drove her own car away. Years passed, and Mo-mi was finally arrested by the police. When she arrived at the police station and got out of the car, there were a lot of reporters surrounding her, trying to get a scoop on the shocking serial murder case of the masked girl. Mo-mi walked, imagining that she was a famous star walking the red carpet and surrounded by reporters. Then, all the events related to the female murderer Mo-mi were highly reported by the media and covered in detail. Even the details of what Mo-mi had fixed on her face were dissected. The outfit that Mo-mi wore became a hot commodity, selling out quickly. The serial murder case of the masked girl was brought to trial, and Mo-mi was sentenced to life imprisonment. And a year before that, Mo-mi had given birth to a baby girl and named her Kim Mi-mo. Mo-mi took her daughter Mi-mo to her mother's house and asked her mother to look after her for a while. Mo-mi's mother refused to raise the baby. Mo-mi kept begging her and said, "I need to make a fake passport and earn money to escape to another country. When I'm done, I'll come back to get her." So her mother agreed to raise the baby girl. As the years went by, Mo-mi didn't return, and little Mi-mo grew up under her grandmother's strict upbringing. Mi-mo didn't like the food her grandmother cooked. She only liked the rice cakes sold near the school. One day, while she was playing with her two girlfriends at school, their mothers came over and took Mi-mo home. She said, "Her mother is the masked girl." Mi-mo immediately went online and searched for the masked girl. Then she learned that her mother was the murderer who had killed two men. Mi-mo then disguised herself as the masked girl and acted out exactly what she had read in the newspaper. Her grandmother then found out and chased Mi-mo out of the house. But when she saw her granddaughter sitting outside in the rain, she brought Mi-mo back inside. Mi-mo then went to school and was constantly teased by her friends, calling her the daughter of a monster. Mi-mo guessed that her best friend was the one who told the whole school. Mi-mo went to find her and punched her best friend in the face. Her grandmother then decided to move and transferred her granddaughter to another school. But the news that Mi-mo had beaten up a classmate at her old school and was the daughter of a serial killer quickly spread to the new school. So Mi-mo had to transfer to another school again. When she started at the new school, Mi-mo was assigned to sit with her classmate, Yi-chun. Mi-mo was very cold and didn't want to get to know anyone. One day, when she saw Yi-chun being bullied by a group of girls at school, Mi-mo was about to ignore it. But when she saw the ringleader was trying to pick a fight with her, Mi-mo yelled, "You guys are crazy." Then she picked up a broken piece of glass and said, "Come at me, I'll kill you all." The ringleader saw blood coming from Mi-mo's arm and told her group to run away. Yi-chun then ran over to dry Mi-mo's wound. After that day, Yi-chun clung to Mi-mo like her shadow, trying to appear pitiful in Mi-mo's eyes. Yi-chun started to tell stories about her family. She said, "My dad is really violent and often beats my mom and me." One time, when they were running into an abandoned house to take shelter from the rain, Yi-chun started crying to her parents at home and told Mi-mo, "I hate my parents at home." Hearing Yi-chun, Mi-mo felt very sympathetic towards her friend and decided to tell her the secret story of her life. She told Yi-chun not to tell anyone about it. Mi-mo said, "I don't know who my dad is. My mom is in jail. I'm living with my grandmother, but she never tells me anything about my mom." Yi-chun, after hearing the story, kissed Mi-mo on the cheek and said, "You're very special." From that day on, Mi-mo and Yi-chun became close and inseparable. One time, when they were running to an abandoned tunnel to skip class, Mi-mo told Yi-chun, "My mom is in jail for murder." Yi-chun continued to spin a story about her family. She said, "Yesterday, my dad went crazy and broke all the dishes in the house. Now I hate going home." Mi-mo invited her, "Let's run away from home. But if we run away, we'll need a lot of money." That night, Yi-chun went home and started searching online. After clicking and typing for a while, she learned that Mi-mo's mother was the female murderer, the masked girl, and that her friend Mi-mo had beaten up a classmate at her old school. The next morning, while feeding her little sister, Yi-chun discovered that her baby sister's walker was still in good condition, so she rolled it up and took it to sell for some money. But the amount of money that Mi-mo and Yi-chun had was still too little, so they couldn't run away together yet. Yi-chun then stopped a little girl who was walking on the street and sold her a collection of signed photos of famous singers she had collected. But the little girl only had a single coin. The group of friends who had bullied Yi-chun at school came over and mocked her for luring elementary school students. Then they beat her up. One of the girls came over and admitted that she had snitched on Yi-chun to the bullies. When the girl grabbed her hair, Yi-chun said, "You're putting your life in danger. Do you know who Mimo's mother is?" Mimo was sitting in a coffee shop at this time. She went up, stole a laptop and left quickly, but she was caught. Mimo's grandmother quickly went to the police station and slapped Mimo hard. Her grandmother told Mimo, "Get out of my house." The girl said, "I wasn't planning on coming back anyway." Then Mimo ran outside. She ran and cried, texting Yi-chun to ask if she could stay over tonight. But Yi-chun said, "My dad is going crazy at home. Go home for tonight. When you're ready, we'll run away." Mimo then climbed the fence and went into the school to sleep overnight. The next morning, while she was in the toilet, Mimo heard the story that she was the daughter of the masked girl spread throughout the school. Her grandmother then went to her class to find Mimo. Yi-chun told her grandmother and the homeroom teacher that she didn't know where Mimo was. Then Yi-chun ran around looking for Mimo, but she couldn't find her. She called, but no one answered. After that, the whole family went to Yi-chun's school to pick her up. Mimo saw that Yi-chun's family was very happy and close, which wasn't what Yi-chun had told her before. Then, Yi-chun got a call from Mimo, asking her to meet at the tunnel. Yi-chun quickly ran to the tunnel. Mimo was really angry and asked, "Did you spread rumors about me to the whole school?" Yi-chun kept saying it wasn't her, but Mimo still hit her. And at the other end of the tunnel, a woman was watching everything. It was Kyung-ja. Let's rewind to when Mo-mi was first taken to prison. The story about the girl with the mask was really famous. So when Mo-mi went to prison, a lot of the other inmates were really curious about her. At that time, there was a prison boss named Yoon-suk. She was really powerful and knew a lot of people in politics. So even the prison guards were scared of her. When she saw Mo-mi looking at her, she immediately called Mo-mi over and asked her, "Are you the girl with the mask?" Then she slapped Mo-mi really hard. She told Mo-mi, "You look exactly like the bitch that seduced my husband, so don't try anything with me, or you'll be sorry." She was so powerful that she could even change the rules of the prison. She said that anyone who came in for an affair had to go without food for 3 days. Mo-mi saw one inmate who was starving because she broke this rule, so she shared some of her food with her. And then, right after that, Mo-mi was punished by Yoon-suk's gang. They shoved Mo-mi's head into the washing machine. Mo-mi looked right at one of the gang members and rammed her head into her, making her fall back. Then, Mo-mi kept attacking her, scratching and biting. After that, Mo-mi was put in solitary confinement. 15 days later, Mo-mi was released back to the general population. The next morning, Mo-mi immediately went to find the gang member and beat her up, even though the gang member's friends kept attacking her. But Mo-mi kept charging at them like a wild animal. So, Mo-mi was put back in solitary confinement. After she was released from solitary confinement, Mo-mi attacked the gang member again, beating her up as if nothing had changed. This pattern continued. Mo-mi would be locked up, then released, and then she would beat up the gang member again. The prison boss told the warden to keep Mo-mi in solitary confinement forever. But the warden said, "We can't do that because there's going to be a prison inspection soon." During her next release, the gang member saw Mo-mi and started shaking like a leaf. She ran away with her tail between her legs. Mo-mi went crazy and chased after her, running around until the gang member tripped and fell. Mo-mi was about to beat her up again when the prison boss appeared and told Mo-mi, "Let's just leave each other alone, okay?" Mo-mi stood up and walked away proudly. Her craziness scared a lot of people. Years passed, and it was now 2023. Mo-mi was getting older, but had a new short haircut. One day, Mo-mi received a letter from outside, her first letter in over a decade. It was an article titled, "Is Violence Genetic?" On the back it said, "Now you know what it feels like to have your child ruined, you skank." Mo-mi read the article again and again. When she saw the little girl in the article with her eyes covered, Mo-mi knew that her daughter was in danger. Mo-mi asked an old friend from prison, "Help me escape." The next morning, while sewing, Mo-mi hid a roll of cloth behind her back. Then, she asked the warden if she could use the bathroom. When she got to the bathroom, Mo-mi opened the window and lowered the cloth rope to the ground. Then, she went outside to plant trees with her friends. Mo-mi signaled to her friend to take action. Her friend pretended to get stung by a bee to distract the guards. Mo-mi then hid a small hook in her sleeve and asked to go to the storage room to get more plants. Mo-mi ran to the back, picked up the cloth rope and tied it to the hook. Then, she threw the rope over the wall. Once the rope was secured on the wall, Mo-mi grabbed it and started climbing. But the rope suddenly broke and Mo-mi fell to the ground. Then, the guards ran to arrest Mo-mi. The warden ordered that Mo-mi be put in solitary confinement for a month and then gave her a Bible. The warden thought Mo-mi was being seduced by the devil, and that was why she tried to escape. Days went by. One day, the warden went to visit Mo-mi and saw her kneeling down praying, her head bowed over the Bible. Mo-mi was released back to the general population after more than a month in solitary confinement. Mo-mi looked brighter and more saintly. She told her friend, "I've become a child of God because God himself spoke to me." Then she confidently stood in front of everyone and preached the philosophy she learned from studying the Bible. One day, Momi saw the prison boss sitting alone crying. Her friend said that her daughter needed a kidney transplant, but she wasn't a match. Without hesitation, Momai walked up to the prison boss and said, "What blood type is your daughter? I want to donate my kidney to her." The prison boss was overjoyed and said, "She's AB negative." Momai smiled and said, "Praise the Lord, I'm AB negative too." Then the prison boss excitedly ran over to Momi and said, "They got the test results back. Your daughter can only get a kidney from you." She thanked Momai profusely. After that, a group of volunteers came to the prison to do a character education program for the inmates. One of them was a woman with short hair. She called Momai's name and said, "I'm O Nam's mother. Did you get my letter? I was so sad that you didn't reply." It turned out that on the night, Momai pushed her into the water. Kyung-ja had struggled, managed to grab the gun, broken the car window, and swam to the surface. She barely survived. The police later retrieved the car and found a fragmented body inside. They searched for the car's owner. To avoid the police, Kyung-ja had plastic surgery to make her face look like Momai. She then paid to get a fake ID under the name O Nam, which was also her son's name. Kyung-ja went to nightclubs looking for Momi. Later, she watched the news and found out that the girl with the mask, her enemy, had been arrested by the police. But her hatred didn't go away, so she took her anger out on Momai's daughter, Mimo. She opened a rice cake stall near Mimo's elementary school to get close to her. Mimo loved the old woman who sold rice cakes. Kyung-ja also pretended to go to church to get close to Mimo's grandmother. When she saw her, her hatred for Momi grew even stronger. Then, Kyung-ja deliberately told the parents at Mimo's school, Kim Mimyo is the daughter of the girl with the mask, the serial killer. When Mimo cried because her friends were avoiding her, Kyung-ja told her, "If anyone bothers you, you have to punish them hard." That's why Mimo beat up her best friend, because she suspected she was spreading rumors about her. When Mimo moved to a new school, Kyung-ja convinced her to write down her new address, promising to visit her. Kyung-ja also called a reporter and told them that the daughter of the girl with the mask had beaten up her classmate at school. When Yi-chun was bullied by a classmate, she didn't reveal that Mimo was the daughter of the girl with the mask. Instead, Kyung-ja stepped in and told the middle school girl about Kim Mimyo's real identity, leading to a misunderstanding between Mimo and Yi-chun. Mimo ran away from home and went to Kyung-ja's rice cake stall for shelter. Back at the prison, Kyung-ja whispered to Momai, "You have to understand how utterly painful it is when your child disappears." Then Kyung-ja smiled and left. Momai ran to attack her, but she was apprehended by the prison guards. Momai screamed in despair. Kyung-ja drove back to her small house at the foot of the mountain. Momai ran out happily to greet the old woman who sold rice cakes, the woman she loved so much. The two of them went into the house and talked happily, laughing and reminiscing. Mimo looked at a picture and asked, "Is this your son?" Kyung-ja said, "He's not here anymore. He's gone far away, in prison." Momai told the prison boss everything. The boss promised to send people to find Mimo and Momai's mother and let them know. Later, the prison guard gave Momai a piece of paper with a phone number on it. Momi used the prison phone to call that number. Mimo's grandmother went to the police station to report her missing and asked them to find her granddaughter. Then, she went outside and received a call from Mimo. The little girl told her grandmother, "Don't look for me anymore, and don't call the police either. You used to say living with me was a burden because I reminded you of that woman, didn't you?" Then, Mimo hung up and turned off her phone. Just then, the grandmother received another call. This time it was from Mimo's mother. Momi asked her mother, "Is Mimo okay? Is there an old woman hanging around Mimo?" Her mother replied, "If you really care about Mimo, don't call me again." Then, she hung up. Momai's time to make calls was up, but she tried to make one more call. Then, the guard stopped her because she was being stubborn. The prison boss told Momai, "It's very difficult to find that old woman because she changed her name. But I found the phone number of the school your daughter goes to. Just call them and ask. I'll ask the guards to let you use the phone again." Momai then called her daughter's middle school and said she wanted to see a student named Mimo. The secretary asked Momi to hold on. After a long wait, the time for her call ran out. Momi heard a young girl's voice on the other end of the line, but it was a strange girl who had been paid to answer the phone at the school. Momai asked the prison boss to show her some pictures of her daughter Mimo. The boss called out to her gang members, "Find any girl, dress her up in a school uniform, have her stand at the school gate and take a picture. She hasn't seen her child in a long time, so she won't recognize her." Then, she gave Momi a picture of a girl in a school uniform and said, "That's your daughter." She told Momai, "Tomorrow is the surgery, so you have to be in a good mood." Outside, Kyung-ja was buying rope, tape, and charcoal briquettes in preparation for her next move. She drove home. When she got home, she couldn't find Mimo. She thought she had run away, but suddenly Mimo came out holding a cake and sang happy birthday to Kyung-ja. Mimo said, I saw your birthday on your ID. Kyung-ja blushed and blew out the candles. Mimo told her, it's like you're my real grandmother. You have to live a long life. Kyung-ja was a little startled. In the middle of the night, while Mimo was sleeping, Kyung-ja went down to her secret basement and set everything up. Just then, in prison, Mo-mi kept staring at the picture of her daughter. Her gut told her that it wasn't her daughter, so she tore up the picture. The next morning, Mo-mi was put back into her regular clothes. The guard let her out, ready to take her to the hospital. The warden told Mo-mi, no one outside knows about this surgery, so don't do anything reckless at the hospital, okay? Then Mo-mi and 2 guards got in the car. The warden told the driver, call me immediately if anything happens. At Kyung-ja's house, she was putting sleeping pills in a bowl of soup for Mimo. Mimo happily ate with the rice cake lady. Mimo told Kyung-ja, I'll earn money so we can go on vacation, shop, and eat good food. You just have to live a long life with me. Kyung-ja seemed a little flustered. Then, Mimo ate the soup with the sleeping pills. Just then, Mimo's grandmother called a friend who often went to church with her, asking for the phone number and address of the rice cake lady. I want to send her a gift to thank her for coming to pray with us. After getting the number, the grandmother called the rice cake lady, but no one answered. Then Yi-chun came to the door and told Mimo's grandmother, that rice cake lady is so strange. Grandma! The 2 of them then took a taxi to the rice cake lady's house. On the way, Yi-chun told the grandmother, I investigated and found out that the rice cake lady was the one who told everyone at school that Mimo was the daughter of the girl with the mask. Mo-mi was taken to the hospital. Every move she made was closely watched. The handcuffs were taken off of her, and she asked a guard to get her Bible, so she could pray before the surgery. The guard handcuffed Mo-mi again and went to get the Bible. Mo-mi was left alone with another guard. Then, she asked to use the bathroom. In the bathroom, the guard handcuffed Mo-mi to the water pipe. Mo-mi said, I'm here to donate an organ, and if you treat me inhumanely like this, I won't donate my kidney. Call the prison and tell the boss. The guard immediately went to unlock Mo-mi's handcuffs. Mo-mi grabbed the toilet seat lid and slammed it into the guard's head. Then, she took the guard's phone and shoes and put them on. When she saw the driver sitting alone at the door, Mo-mi ran to the back, opened the window, and looked down at the ground. Just then, the guard came back with the Bible. Mo-mi jumped down and then jumped out of the ambulance, being hit by a car. Mo-mi struggled to her feet, got into the car that hit her and drove off. The prison boss and the warden were furious when they heard that Mo-mi had escaped. Mo-mi tried to use the phone she'd taken, but couldn't unlock it. Then, she used a phone that was already in the car to call her mother. Mo-mi told her mother, my daughter is in danger. Oh Nam's mother is trying to kill her. She's been hanging around Mimo to ruin her life. Her mother said, I'm on my way to see her. Mo-mi said, it's dangerous. Don't go there. Do you have her address? Her mother gave her the address. Her mother then asked the driver to stop, told Yi-chun to get out of the car, and said she would go see the old woman alone. Then, Mo-mi's mother called the police. Yi-chun checked how much money she had and took a taxi to find Mimo at the rice cake lady's house. Now, Kyung-ja was setting up a video camera to record herself killing Mimo, but she hadn't finished setting it up when Mimo woke up. Kyung-ja told her, this isn't your fault. It's your mother's fault. Your mother killed my son. I have to live in hell for the rest of my life, while your mother looks so carefree. You didn't do anything wrong, but if you want to blame someone, blame your mother. Kyung-ja turned on the camera and said, I'll send these moments to your mother. Kyung-ja then took out the gas stove to burn the charcoal briquettes, but she saw Mimo trying to say something. So she took off the tape. Mimo said, Grandma, I'm cold. Kyung-ja grabbed her jacket and put it on Mimo. When Mimo said, please don't kill me, Kyung-ja immediately put the tape back over her mouth. Mo-mi was driving when her car ran out of gas. She got out to ask for some. A kind woman driving by stopped. Mo-mi said, I just had a fight with my husband, and I want to drive away for a while. As she drove, the woman started talking nonstop about her bad husband. In the middle of her story, Mo-mi interrupted her and asked to check the navigation device in the car. Suddenly, a news report announced, the serial killer, the girl with the mask, has escaped. She is a woman in her 40s, with a short haircut and has an injury on her face. The car owner was startled by the news. Mo-mi said, let me get off here. Thank you very much. Mo-mi got out of the car and ran up a mountain. The car owner immediately called the police. At Kyung-ja's house, the police arrived to knock on the door because someone had reported that a middle school girl was being held captive there. The officer went inside to investigate. Down in the basement, Mimo was struggling and then fell. The tape over her mouth came loose. After finding nothing in the house, the officer walked out. Then, he heard someone calling for help. He was about to go back in to check, but then he received an urgent order from his superior. The escaped prisoner was found near the mountain. We need reinforcements. The officer immediately drove to help capture the escaped prisoner. Kyung-ja went down into the basement, took the tape and taped Mimo's mouth shut again. As she did so, she muttered, You reap what you sow. This is fair punishment. Just then, the car carrying Mai Mo's grandmother arrived. The grandmother went into the house. Now, Mo Mai was using all her strength to climb to the top of the mountain. Then, she saw a small house at the foot of the mountain. Down in the basement, Kyung Ja had finished burning the charcoal and went upstairs, leaving Mai Mo screaming in front of the video camera. Kyung Ja went upstairs and saw Mai Mo's grandmother in her house. The grandmother heard her granddaughter's screams and went down to the basement. Kyung Ja shoved her to the ground. At that moment, Yi Chun arrived. The grandmother hugged Kyung Ja's leg tightly, so Yi Chun could run down to the basement to rescue Mi Mo. Yi Chun ran downstairs and saw Mai Mo unconscious from suffocation. She turned off the charcoal stove and then removed the tape from Mi Mo's mouth. Yi Chun said, "I'm sorry for lying to you. I did it because I really like you. I didn't tell anyone your secret. I miss you so much." Yi Chun then went to take off the rope that was tied around Mai Mo. Upstairs, the grandmother was struggling with Kyung Ja. But then Kyung Ja grabbed a pair of scissors and stabbed the grandmother in the leg. Just as she was about to finish her off, Mo Mi appeared and smashed Kyung Ja's head, making her faint. The mother and daughter reunited after more than a decade apart. The mother told Mo Mai to go downstairs and save Mai Mo. Mo Mi went downstairs and encountered her daughter and Yi Chun. Mo Mi shyly looked at her daughter and went to untie the ropes binding Mi Mo. Then, the three of them went upstairs and faced Kyung Ja again. Mo Mai saw the bloody knife in Kyung Ja's hand and knew that her mother had been murdered. Kyung Ja said, "This is what you sowed." The old woman tried to get her gun, but Mo Mai stopped her. They struggled and a bullet went into the ceiling. Mo Mai overpowered Kyung Ja and told the two girls to run. Mi Mo ran upstairs and saw her grandmother lying there, gasping for breath, having been stabbed in the heart. Mi Mo started crying and said, "I'm sorry, Grandma." The grandmother held Mai Mo's hand and said, "I'm sorry, honey." Then, the grandmother closed her eyes and passed away. Down in the basement, Mo Mi was strangling Kyung Ja when the old woman grabbed a sandbag and started hitting Mo Mi repeatedly. Kyung Ja told Mo Mi, "When my son dies, my life is over." Kyung Ja tried to end it all with the gun, but Mo Mi used a stick to beat her. Kyung Ja used the stick to hit Mo Mi on the head. Both were exhausted. Then, Kyung Ja lunged at her sworn enemy and knocked her down, but Mo Mai was the one who got up. The three of them stepped outside and saw many police cars at the house. The police pointed their guns at the escaped prisoner, Mo Mi. Mo Mai went to them but didn't dare look her daughter in the eyes. Then, she raised her hands in surrender. Suddenly, Kyung Ja stepped forward. The police told Kyung Ja, "Drop your weapon." Kyung Ja grabbed the gun and pointed it at Mo Mi, but then turned and shot Mi Mo. Mo Mai hugged her daughter. The police fired a shot at Kyung Ja, hitting her right between the eyes. Mo Mai also took a bullet for her daughter. Mo Mai looked at her daughter, smiled and collapsed in Mi Mo's arms. Mi Mo hugged her mother tightly and burst into tears. Mi Mo went back to school and became closer to her friend Yi Chun. The two of them went to school together and Yi Chun's parents became Mi Mo's guardians. Mi Mo no longer felt that constant hatred for others. She opened her mother's memory box and found a tape. When she put it in the player, she saw footage of little Mo Mi in preschool, dancing with her hands by her ears and freely expressing her love without fear of being ridiculed or judged. When the MC asked Mo Mi, "What is your dream?" she replied, "My dream is to be loved by everyone." Mi Mo started crying as she watched the video. The movie ended there. It was a horror and mystery film, a little scary and haunting, but it reflected many issues that exist in society, especially discrimination based on appearance. The film portrays the prejudice that those who have looks that go against society's standards of beauty must endure. On the other hand, it also successfully portrays the sacred mother-daughter bond. Although the generational gap made their children grow farther away from them, a mother's love for her child is immeasurable. If you like this content, please like and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next video.